Now, hi everyone, and welcome to this week's Monday Memo. Now, sometimes in accounting and finance, we can be on the end of some jokes by other departments. I write about one of these in my book about a man who takes a balloon ride at a local country fair. Now, a fierce wind suddenly kicks up, causing the balloon to violently leave the fair and carry its occupant far out into the countryside. The occupant falls over, knocks himself out, and wakes up to find himself landed in a farmer's field with no clue how far he'd flown or where he's really landed. So he picks himself up, gets himself together, sees a man off in the distance, a passerby, and asks him, can you please tell me, sir, where am I? And eyeing the man in the balloon, the passerby says, you're in a down balloon in a farmer's field, and the cows over there are milked every day at 6 a.m. in the morning. Now, the man in the balloon was a bit perturbed, so he shouts back, you must be in finance or an accountant, sir. The passerby, bemused, goes, how could you possibly know that? And the chap in the balloon said, well, because what you've told me is absolutely correct, but of absolutely no use to me now. And the finance professional then says, well, sir, you must be a manager. And the balloonist says, well, how do you know that? And the response to him was, because you don't know where you are, you don't know where you're going, and you're exactly where you were 10 minutes ago, but somehow it's my fault. So, I don't know about you, but I could actually see some of my past behaviour in that joke, and I know it's intended to be a bit of fun, but part of me says, I should be getting defensive over this. A part of me actually says, I actually agree with part of the joke, because again, I can see some of my behaviour in there. So let me maybe agree with the joke first and point out a few things as to why. And the first is, in accounting and finance, we can easily get lost in the numbers. I mean, ultimately, good business is really about people and helping people achieve the best they can with their business. And as finance professionals, we can sometimes get stuck in adding up spreadsheets or preparing reports and analyses and forget about perhaps developing rapport and trusting relationships with real people. So we have the ability to earn the right to start doing business better with them. And then, because we've got all these technical skills, we're very well qualified. We know how to improve cash flows. We know how to reduce the risk in the business. We know how to help people make more money and have sustained profitable growth. But making rational decisions isn't always necessarily going to be the case in business. Emotion comes into play an awful lot too. And sometimes that might explain why the people we work with in business, the managers and the leaders, perhaps will want something sometimes which perhaps they don't really need. It's a bit like people needing to go to the dentist, but how many of us really actually want to go to the dentist? Or having to train a bit more or do a bit more exercise, but perhaps not wanting to get up those few minutes earlier in the morning. And that makes sense sometimes when people in the business perhaps aren't as tuned into their needs as perhaps we are, with that broader perspective. And again, as I said, the training that we've had to be able to identify those needs. So ultimately, what really matters in business is actually people, engaging with people, actively listening to them and getting onto their wavelength, being on the same page. Ultimately, people do business with other people who get us and where we're coming from. All managers and leaders have some sort of anxious points, or they're uncertain about some things, particularly when they're making decisions about the future and where we can help around the financials. So if you think about it, in our own scenarios, when we're like that, what are we looking for? We're looking for people that give us reassurance, inspire us, and give us a bit of confidence. And we have the technical training to do this to help solve their problems. So what can we do to engage with others better so we can get on the same page and achieve better results together? And one way I find this, and it's a very simple thing we can do, is just think about a cup of coffee, or in fact ordering a cup of coffee. In basic human psychology, the more repeated exposure we have with another person, the more trustworthy, at least subconsciously, they become to us. For example, a lot of people like their morning coffee. The amount of times I used to order Americanos, there was one stage I was having 3 before lunch, which again is a bad idea, particularly when you're coming off that. But you get into a habit of going to the same cafe, perhaps the same barista. I mean, if you think about it, how many different coffee brands are there? But we tend to navigate back towards where we order it in the same place, generally speaking, if we're going to work. So it's not necessarily the level of interaction that's important, it's really just the frequency of them seeing you. So the one thing we can do as finance and accounting professionals, if we want to go and build rapport, maintain trusted relationships with others, is using the simple same psychology, which is just to simply show up. Just be visible, spend time with people. In a human mind, simply being visible makes others feel like they know and understand us better, and that likewise we're doing the same for them. I mean, ultimately, a good business relationship has the qualities similar to a good friendship. I mean, staying in touch, being available, spending time together, never neglect this. So if we're in finance, FP&A or accounting and we want to be understood, if we want to help achieve better results and not be the butt of the jokes like I opened the show on, is we should really consider proactively managing our relationships with others by getting out from behind of our desks, holding regular catch-ups with them, being mindful of their interests and their challenges, and customizing our conversations with them, not sending generic emails, but specific ones to them. Look, we've got these fantastic opportunity in finance, FP&A, accounting, with our strength in understanding the numbers and what we can do with it, and also our position in organizations to really help provide our financial expertise, our commercial acumen, and make sense out of what's going on so we can share these valued insights around the numbers to drive our organization's performance forward and help people make better decisions. So look, I hope you enjoyed this episode and this one simple thing we can do to actually improve the impact we make, or also the value we add in finance and accounting. So look, if you enjoyed the episode, let your friends know. We're on all the major platforms: iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, SoundCloud. And until next time, have a great week, and let's keep on building those strength in the numbers.